Hey guys, welcome back to Nature's Cadence Farm. Today we're going to be working on the ASV PT-100 forestry, and what happened was Mrs. Cadence was doing some mulching with it and it just shut down right in the woods. You know, she was trying to make a pass and it just died. We tried to start it back up, you know, and it wouldn't even, well, it did start up for maybe 2 or 3 seconds and then just shut right off. So let's get in here and see if we can figure out what happened. So my suspect culprit in this this whole situation is this electric lift pump. That was the first thing that came to mind. And what it did is, so this electric pump takes fuel from the tank, which is right here, you know, in the machine itself, and pumps it into the pump this way, right here, through this line back here, the inlet, and then pumps it to the fuel injection pump that's mounted onto the engine, that's driven by the timing gears and everything. And then this is a return line, a vent they call it, goes back to the tank. But this is driven off of 12 volts when you start it up. So a couple things we're going to check. We're going to check to see if we're getting voltage here at this connector, and then we're going to check to see if we're getting if we have resistance on the actual pump itself. I'm going to remove the connector from the pump, and what that is, there's a little tab at the very top of this connector, and you push that down. You see it right here, this little tab. Push that down and pull it, you know, straight back. So then you have your 2 leads, you know, that would connect into the pump. So let's get a multimeter shoved into those holes right here and see if we have voltage coming in there. So I've got the meter turned on and I've got it in the DC scale for 20 volts. I've got these leads in here. Polarity at this point really doesn't matter, because, you know, if it goes negative 13 volts or positive 13 volts, we just need to know voltage is on here so we know the relay works, because it could be a relay that's bad, we don't know yet. But let's look at this display right here while I go turn the key on. I'm not going to try to start it because it should just turn on right when you turn the key on. So let's check it out. Alright, here we go. Let's see what we get. You saw the voltage go up on the display here, so that's a good thing. We actually have power right here. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to check resistance on this pump, just as a sanity check. I tried to hear it to see if it would turn on. I couldn't get it to turn on with the voltage hooked to it. But let's use this meter here and check the resistance across this pump motor. Went ahead and just unbolted the pump from this bracket, and I've got the electrical connector here. And if you can see those pins inside of there, that's where the plug that we were just working with actually interfaces to. So I've got these little jumpers here. What I'm going to do is put it on each pin so I know I'm getting good contact, because I tried to put my meter in there, the leads in there, and I thought I was getting some weird readings, but when I put these on here, I'll know I've got a good connection on the actual pins themselves. So now I've got these 2 leads here that will actually, they're right on those pins. So let's take the multimeter and put it on there. I've got the multimeter in the ohms scale, the resistance. That's this little symbol right here, this omega symbol. And I've got the range set at 200 ohms. That should be more than adequate for what we're looking for. So what you're seeing here, let me get that set up there so you can see it, and I got a couple hands. What you're seeing here is I've got the leads hooked up to the jumpers, and the jumpers hooked up to the pump, and I have no resistance. And I'm going to prove that the meter works by touching these 2 together. You see how the meter, you know, deflected the 1.4 ohms, and this isn't going to be an exact reading, you know, whatever, but I'm just seeing if we actually have resistance. So at this point, no, we do not have resistance. So it looks like I'm going to need to order at least a new lift pump, if not something else that might be wrong with this system. I've got a new lift pump here. I purchased this off of Amazon, and I'll put some links down below in case you're interested in which one I picked up. It came with this mounting hardware kit and also an extension cord cable that adapts, I guess. Well, it's the same connector on both sides, but either way. So what we're going to do with this pump, we're going to test it the same way we tested the other one and see what kind of resistance we have on that, just in case, you know. I'm just going to put these alligator clips on here on each pin. Alright, I've got the meter all hooked up, and you can see I'm getting some resistance across there, which is what that other pump did not have. So I'm feeling pretty good. That was definitely an issue. Was the old pump is burned up. So let's get that swapped out for this one and see what we can get going here. What I did to get the pump ready to install, I went ahead and put all these rubber bushings in here. It's 6 of them, and these metal sleeves, and there it just goes together just like that. And then when you tighten everything down, this will give it a little bit of anti-vibration cushion action going on there. So let's go ahead and get this old pump disconnected, and we'll hook it up hose for hose on this one. These hoses are a quick connect kind of fitting here on this old pump, and what they are, like, you squeeze both these little plastic tabs and pull. We're supposed to pull at the same time. I found they were kind of tricky to do with one hand or two hands, so I just use these pliers to kind of push the connector in and then come in behind it and kind of wedge it out a little bit. So that worked really good. So I can just do that, squeeze these two together, and then just kind of pop them like that. So there's the vent. So that goes to the top connector on the new pump. And I cleaned these off a little bit with some brake parts cleaner just to kind of get them ready, so I didn't have so much dirt floating around in here. So again, I'm going to squeeze both of these little tabs and get in here and pry this thing off. Not too hard, because you don't want to break your connector there, but they've been on there a while, so I'm sure there's lots of crud down in there. There we go. So got that one off. That's to the fuel pump, the injection pump itself. And then the last one here is going to be the in from the tank itself. So let's see if we can get this off of here. Yeah, you can tell this is dry. I mean, it must have pumped all the fuel that it had in it out. All right, there we go. We got the last connector off, and we got our old pump here. I got a new pump here. We're just going to go back with the installation, how we took it apart. So we'll start with these, the inlet here, since that was kind of the hardest one to get to. So there it goes. It just plugs right on there. And then the one that goes to the fuel pump here, which happens to be this 90, which you can kind of follow it. We're going to go ahead and pull this cap off. I didn't pull these caps off earlier because I wanted to try to keep it as clean as possible. That snaps on there. Then that cover comes off, and this goes to the vent. So we'll snap that on there. So while we got everything opened up and easy to get to, we can go ahead and plug in our electrical connector too. So let's see if that just plugs straight in there. It does. So it doesn't look like we're going to need this jumper. But, you know, I'm going to hold on to this for sure, because I can use this to troubleshoot that pump in the future. I can either cut the connector in half, you know, cut these wires here, or I can just plug it in, and I'll have these where I can look at them to get the, you know, the jumpers on there. So let's go ahead and get this bolted down. Looks like it's going to fit just like that right there on here, and then we're just going to run the bolts through the bracket to get it in place. Here's the hardware that the kit came with. It's a bolt here with a flange on it, and then a washer with a nut. And I'm sure these are probably 6mm metric or something like that. So what I'm going to do is put the bolt in from the top, and what I'll do is put a little Loctite on here, because there's no lock washers or anything, And that way when I thread these nuts on here, it won't back out. But if they do fall off in the future, it's not a big deal because the bolt hopefully will still kind of hold itself through the hole like that. So let's see if we have enough clearance there to get, yeah, it looks like we'll have enough to get that started. Got our bolt with a little bit of Loctite on there. We'll slide that down in there. See if we can reach around here and get them started. Got a 10mm nut, 8mm bolt head here, and we're just doing a righty-tighty on these. Not going crazy tight, but tight enough to keep them from rattling off. I went ahead and disconnected the hose that goes to the injection pump. It's just right down here. And I went ahead and hooked up a short little piece of hose to the outlet of the pump and then dumped that into this jar. So what I'm going to do now is turn the key on and see if we can prime this system here. You can hear the pump running. Hopefully you can hear that. Don't have any. Yeah, it's pumping air out right now. There it goes. You hear the pump just pulled up some fuel. Now it's going to get a bunch of this air out. See how cloudy it looks? It's just got a lot of air in it. There it goes. Looks like it's clearing up right there. I just turned the key off. I'm going to go dump this junk we got in there. I got the air purged out of here. I'm willing to give it a shot to see if I can even get it to start up. Let's just turn it over for a little bit and see if we can get it going. I'm going to give it some glow plugs because it was kind of cool last night. Okay, well that's a pretty good sign right there. You know, I didn't even check over the oil or anything. Usually I check over everything before we get it going, so I just shut it down. I'm gonna check everything over real quick and then we'll get it right back and see if we can get it to idle a little bit. All right, let's try to get her going there and see if she'll idle for us, and we'll warm it up and test everything out. Oh, that sounds good. Oh my gracious, I'm so glad we got it going. Seems to be idling fairly well. I'm going to go ahead and rev it up a little bit and see what it sounds like. It runs out well. I think that sounds great. So what I'm going to do now is see if it restarts. Let's just see if it'll kind of start up by itself without any glow plugs. Yes, she does. That's perfect. All right, guys. Well, we got Bess back up and running. So now we can get her back in the brush we were trying to clear out, and that's great. So super easy. Buddy of mine told me that works on heavy equipment. He told me that lift pumps are fairly common. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to order an extra one of these and just keep it in the dump truck where the truck that I'll haul this around with. So that way I've got it with me all the time. It's super easy. I've got enough tools in there to change it out. So that's going to be nice. So we'll have that, at the ready just in case it fails again. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.